Hi, my name is Carl Grace. This is my friend Jen, and we're down here at the Gnomon. Today we're going to start a color realistic piece, our leg. It's going to be about 40 or 50 different colors laid out. I'm going to go over some techniques on how I blend my different coloring and contrast from warms to cools. And I think that you're going to learn a lot from this video. So pay attention and let's get started. Okay, so this is today's reference. We got a really nice, colorful wild lily. And I came through and I photoshopped a nice little bud. I thought it was enough. I'm probably going to do a little something right here as far as maybe just like a couple vines. I don't know. I'll probably just freehand it on our leg. But the girl, we're probably going to come through with some kind of color tone or whatever, but we'll go over that later. I'm going to start with my stencil. I'm going to go ahead and stencil it out right now and get busy. So this is our color copy, downsized to fit the area. So once again, I'm just going to tape it on top of the Thermofax paper. I already taken the little protective sheet out. It's a brand new one. I like to use brand new ones when I'm doing big pieces like this. Tape it so it doesn't move. I'm going to start stenciling this up. I'm going to come through and I'm just going to start with the whole outline of the flower. I'm going to do it nice and bold lined. I'm pressing pretty hard so that way these lines will stay on the skin for a while. Again, I'm kind of just coming through and I'm going to go ahead and shade this whole piece. Being that we're in color, I'm not going to try to like shade different tones or anything. All I'm going to do is I'm going to come through and treat it like if it's a black and gray image. I'm going to outline it. I'm going to shade it with the dark areas. The dark areas are going to be dark. The light area is going to get a little bit of light shading. And then as I'm doing the tattoo, I need to make the appropriate changes as far as the color goes. So this line right here, a little bit of shadow coming off right here. I really like the shadows that are on this petal right here. They're going to get a lot of good depth. So this is going to get a lot of black right here, nice and dark. Kind of just accent. Give it that shadow. See how that's looking so far? Yeah, we're definitely getting some depth. A lot more than just a bunch of lines or some broken dots or lines like a lot of people use. It's a lot more legible, a lot easier to follow. It just works a lot better for me. A little bit of directions coming through there. Again, I'm just doing this like a quick sketch. So on the areas that are dark, I'm pressing hard. I'm tightening up and just kind of spinning a little more area, just make it darker. And the other areas where I just want some direction, I'm just barely just gliding this pen over it, as if I was doing some really light gray wash or just a quick sketch with the pencil. Over that, see what it looks like. Yep, I think that's going to do it. Let's start pushing her in. So I'm just coming through and I'm just hitting all my black areas. It's good. This is definitely a super high contrast piece. A lot of shadows. It's going to look really nice when it's on the skin and give it a lot of depth. It's totally how I tattoo. So I'm just coming through and just really pushing really hard without breaking the paper, of course, and getting all my dark areas and then kind of just shading in my lights. And when it's on the skin, which I'm going to show you in about 10 minutes, it's going to be really nice, easy to follow. And I think, part of tattooing, as far as, being able to concentrate on the tattoo, is not having to concentrate on everything else. You're sitting here and you're trying to read your stencil and you're getting lost and trying to figure out, what the hell is this? What does this line mean? And you're constantly checking your reference next to you, and that's how I used to tattoo. And it's tough. It's tough to sit there and get lost and spend 20 minutes looking back and forth trying to figure out what you're doing. And if God forbid you make a mistake and then you got to come through and try to fix it. And it's just easier to spend the extra 20 minutes before the tattoo, get acquainted with the piece, spend a little time, get a little hand memory, remembrance of, this quick stencil that you're doing, this sketch, and you go from there. So I know that it looks like I just did the same thing all the way through this cheek, but with just pressing a little differently as far as pressure, you'll see it's, I got my darks right here and my lights right there. It's going to be really nice to read when it's on the skin. So I know this whole thing looks like it's solid black, but you check a reference right here and there's actually a little bit of different tones changing in between there. So I just quickly checked it and gave it a little bit of clarity. Kind of like a pedal right here. I'm not going to take this black all the way down, so I'm just going to fade it off, and I'm probably going to have something coming through right here, maybe some vines or something. But so there it is. It took about 20 minutes to do, and you know, I just quickly sketched over it. This is our reference. It looks like a quick sketch. It's really visible, really legible, and I think it's gonna, you know, work fairly well for this tattoo. So let's do it. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and set up our machines for today. I got 3 machines laid out. It's one's a liner, one's a soft hitting shader, and one's a color packer. So we're gonna be using another 5 for the liner. I'm gonna do the same thing I usually do. I'm gonna grab it, we'll bend it down right at the eye hole. Just give it a little bit of bow so that way it runs in the bottom of the tube. There it is. I got a hard hitting nipple. It's nice and solid, hard plastic. I like to run these on my liners and my solid fill machines. They just hit a little bit harder. I'll set my throw about right there. Tighten it up. 2 rubber bands. This machine set up. Next machine we're running is going to be a 9 mag. The needle that I'm using is actually a bug pin. So again, bug pin needles are a little thinner. The diameter is about a third smaller than a normal needle. So in a 9 mag, 9 mag tube, I'm actually using an 11 mag needle, but it's a bug pin. Again, slight bend by the eye hole, slight bend down as it's going through. It's just going right on the bottom of the tube instead of jumping up. It just stays right there. Get a nice flow of ink going through it. Really helpful. I'm going to be doing most of my shading with this. And I like to layer my colors as I'm going. So I'm going to use the really soft, squishy nipple to go on top of the post. That way I can make a little bit more passes on the skin. It takes a little bit more time, but you get a lot more fluid, consistent blends with your colors. Set my throw. And that one's set up. Third machine, we're using a 15 mag. We're also going to be using a bug pin with this. So this is a 17 bug pin going into a 15 magnum tube. We're going to be doing a lot of like the big white areas, a lot of the darks, and maybe some backgrounds with this machine. So I got it set up to hit fairly hard, not too hard, but just, you know, to get in there and get out real quick. And again, on this one, we're going to be using one of the harder rubber nipples. And there they are. We got a 5 needle liner for our lines and our tight areas, an 11 or a 9 mag with an 11 bug pin for our color, and a 15 with a 17 bug pin for our wide areas, and we're ready to go. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start setting up my color palette now. It's a really colorful piece, a lot of different tones, a lot of different colors. So my theory as far as ink is it's cheap. So I set up every color that I possibly need and some. That way if I need it and I look, it's there. Because I don't like starting a tattoo and then, you know, an hour into it looking for a color and having to yell for my apprentice or stop and take my gloves off and re-glove, and it just stops the flow. So I got about 30 something colors going into this tattoo. We're gonna go ahead and start setting up right now for them. This is just some A&D ointment. Some people use those little you know, plastic things that hold these caps in there, but I don't like using them because, you know, I make messes sometimes, and I just don't feel like they're really that sanitary, unless you want to autoclave them every time. I don't really have a method as far as how I set my caps up when I have this many colors out, but I do have a method as far as how I set my colors up, and I'll go through that right now. So I always start with my black. There's a decent amount of black in this, so I'm going to set up with 2 caps. Okay. Now I'm going to start coming through with my reds. So my first cap's going to be a plum, which is almost going to look like it's black, but it's not. Next will be a dark red. Followed by a dark magenta. Now a light magenta. You'll notice all these brands are different. I don't have one brand that I buy from. I buy from probably 5 different brands. And that's just over the years of finding inks that I really like. This is a bubblegum pink. This is a light pink. And this is some Georgia peach. So I think, as you can see, you're definitely getting some some darks to lights, as far as you still got the same warm tones, but this actually comes in a little bit lighter than it looks, so this is actually a higher value color. Now I'm going to come through with my oranges. Start with some brown. Into some light brown. This is a burnt orange color. Going to some regular orange. This is a really bright color right here. Next we got some butterscotch, which is like a muted yellowish brown. I like it. Going into some golden yellow. Now we have a regular yellow. And we got this mustard color, which I like for some, it's really useful for some off tones where you don't want them too bright. Kind of like back here, if you can see it, these areas right here, it's going to get a lot of mustard in there. And next we got some purples. So here's a purple concentrate. Going into nice high valued straight purple. Now we got a light purple. And I'm gonna throw a cap of dark flesh right here. Really blends well with that purple. Complements it really well. That and the Georgia peach. Now I'm going to come through with some greens. This is a dark green. Which hasn't been opened yet. This is a color called Dirty Money. It's pretty new, I like it. It's like a really off tone. Almost like a green periwinkle, I like it. Here we got some lime green. And we got some artichoke flavored green. which is really thick. All right, now we're going to come through with our blues. This is our deep blue. Followed by a turquoise blue. This is kind of like a deeper sky blue. Then we have an icy blue. A periwinkle blue. And we have a cap of seafoam green, which really sits well with these blue palettes. It really looks nice. So I got two more warm colors I need to introduce. This is a really bright flamingo pink, which is going to be used a lot in this flower for some of the vibrant areas. And this is a tangerine, which is also a nice bright off color, as you can see. And the last three caps, we're going to set up some white. Two of them will probably be used for, muting down different colors, and one will be used for a white at the end. So there's our palette. We got our reds going down to our pinks into some tangerine, which I'll be using for a lot of colors. We have our oranges going from our dark brown to our light brown all the way down to our yellows. We have our purples, which is a 3 palette system, dark, medium, light. Greens, we have 4 of them, and then our blues, we have about 6 different colors because we're going to be using those for the face. And I feel pretty comfortable with this palette. I think every color of this piece will be able to, be found and made with this 34 colors. So what I like to do when I'm setting up these many colors, and I know my inks, so I know which ones dry up in the caps fast and I know which ones don't, is I'll come through and I'll just give it a 1 drop of witch hazel, and it'll kind of keep that top from hardening up. As you can see, like this one's already starting to. You see the bubbles, and otherwise you're always pulling that top layer off and throwing it away and stuff. So I'm going to come through and I'm just going to drop a drop into the ones that need it, like this plum does, this red does, this dark magenta does. Georgia peach definitely does. It's pink. Dark brown. Really, most of them are the different companies that make them. Some of them, one of the companies I buy from, I've had caps out there for 8 hours and they never dry up. And some companies, they're out there for 15 minutes and they're hard as a rock. So. The concentrates usually dry up pretty fast. That one, this one definitely does. And so that'll just kind of keep that top layer, moist without hardening up, and which will be helpful when we're getting back in there, because I might not hit this cap for 2 hours. I might get right in there first thing off, so that'll help me out.